feet must remain in the exact same line. They're facing straight ahead. Your arms are reaching straight up with the fingertips touching. You're going to reach the arms as high as you can, and your goal here is 3 deep breaths, breathing the front and back of the torso as high as you can as you inhale, not letting the torso drop as you exhale. It's very challenging. So big breath in, lifting front and back of the torso as high as you can towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, keep that height as well as you can. Slowly bring the arms down, press through the front heel, stand right back up. Left foot forward, right foot back. You'll notice that Brian is in a shorter stance, Dustin's in a longer stance. Both of these are fine as long as your hips are in the right position. Reach the arms up as high as possible. Big deep breaths, elevating both the front and back of the torso as high as possible. As you exhale, keep the arms reaching up. Keep the torso driving straight up towards the ceiling. And just keep breathing. One more forceful breath, filling up the top of the rib cage, front and back, as big as you can. As you exhale, slowly bring the arms down, keeping the torso tall, and stand up. Let's go into a wide leg founder. Your legs should be at least 3 feet apart, if not a little bit more than that, feet still facing straight ahead. Your weight's back on the heels, your hips are the first joint to unlock, so your butt goes back behind you, the lower back is tight, big chest. Let's go ahead and turn the thumbs out away from you. Keep your weight into your heels, and what you're looking for here is tension at the lower back and a little bit of tension in the hamstrings. Make sure your knees are not coming forward. Pull the hips back a little bit tighter. Now very slowly we're going to add a little bit of tension by bringing the arms straight up in front of us and then reaching them straight in the air. Reach up as high as possible. This is going to give you much more isolated pressure right here at the base of the spine. You're going to hold on to that for one very big deep breath into the upper rib cage. Breathe all the way in. As you exhale, bring the arms right back behind you with the thumbs turned out. Press the heels into the ground and stand right back up. Let's do one more round, right back into the hip width founder. So your feet are 6 inches to a foot apart, facing straight ahead. Weight back on the heels. I want you to continuously check in with your feet while you're doing this exercise. As your hips push back, your chest lifts, the chin pulls back. Let's go one very forceful deep breath right into the upper rib cage, expanding the rib cage as you breathe in. As you exhale, you're going to bring those arms straight up in front of you, again, adding leverage and tension into the lower back. I want you to reach the arms just a little bit further and now pull the hips and hands away from each other. You're not lifting the arms higher anymore, you're pushing them forward away from your hip joint. Let's go one very forceful deep breath into the rib cage in this position. Keep the torso strong, stay really tight here, shake a little bit. Slowly bring the arms back down, turn the thumbs out. We're going to hold this position for one deep breath, really opening the chest as big as you can. Try to avoid hyperextending, just stay tall, very tall. From this position, press the heels into the ground, stand right back up. Let's go right back into a lunge. Right foot forward, left foot back. Why don't both you guys try to push just a little bit further in this one? And again, from this point, once your hips are square and your legs are in the same position, feet facing forward, you're trying to lift every ounce of your body weight straight up towards the ceiling as hard as you can. Your breath is what's going to pull you up. Breathe into the lungs as big as possible. The lungs are in your upper rib cage. They're here and up. Don't breathe into the belly as much. Keep on reaching straight up as high as you can and try to get yourself to a point where you're trembling pretty well in this exercise. Take one more very big breath, pushing the rib cage up as you inhale. And as you exhale, try not to drop at all. Stay as tall and tight as possible for a full breath. Press the feet into the ground, stand right back up. Let's do the same thing with the left foot forward. Again, push the envelope a little bit here. Try to stretch a little bit deeper into each one of these. Lift the arms as high as you can. And remember, the basis of this exercise is length. You're going from the floor as tall as you can with your hips squared and your arms reaching straight up. Pull the chin back. Give me a very big breath into the torso. As you exhale, don't let it drop at all. Stay really tall and really tight. Go ahead and bring your arms down, stand straight up, and let's go into a wide founder. A little bit wider than the last one if you're able to. First joint that moves is the hip joint. It pulls straight back with a braced spine and the chin back. You're going to open up the hands, spread the fingers, and really start to pull open the chest and then pull the elbows into the rib cage to tighten up the back of the arms. From this position, we're going to start counterbalancing just a little bit. As the arms come forward, the hip joint has to make room and pull backwards. You should get a lot of tension at the hamstrings, a lot of tension at the lower back, even a little bit on the inside of the leg and the adductors. From this position, I want you to reach the arms up as high as you can and then away from your hips as you pull the hips and hands in opposite directions to lengthen your torso. You have one very forceful deep breath in this position. As you're breathing, I want you to really check in with the feet in the same line, the pressure on the heels, the lower back braced and the arms lifting as high as they can. You should tremble pretty well in this one. One more forceful breath all the way up into the rib cage. Slowly exhale, press your heels into the ground, and stand up. Keep practicing that one every day. Let's practice the lunge, woodpecker, and woodpecker rotation movements. These all happen from the exact same stance. So let's go ahead and have your right foot forward, left foot back in a nice long lunge stance. The weight for now is evenly distributed between the 2 feet, with the arms reaching straight up in the air as high as they can go. The purpose of this first exercise is to reach as high as possible for a few deep breaths. When you inhale, fill up the rib cage as big as you can, and when you exhale, don't let your torso drop down at all. You're staying up, actively lifting yourself off the ground the entire time here. Let's go one big deep breath in, and as you exhale, bring the arms down. When you bring the arms down, you're going to spread the fingers and turn your hands away from you to widen your chest. This now sets you up for the woodpecker. Take your weight forward into the front heel. Your chest is going to come forward and up, not bending the spine, instead hinging that right hip joint. With the weight on the front heel and your chest up, slowly bring the arms forward. As you reach forward, you're going to get a lot of tension into the right lower back, right glute, and right hamstring. This means you're doing it correctly. We're going to add tension to the right glute by doing a subtle woodpecker rotation. You're going to take your arms and rotate towards the right, just about 6 inches. Don't go any further than that. As you rotate, you should get a nice amount of tension right into that right hip, drive the weight into the right heel, and hold this for one very big breath, again into the torso. Widen and elongate the torso as you're breathing. Slowly come back to the center, bring the arms right back behind you, open the chest, pull the chest back over your hips, and stand right up. Let's go left foot forward, right foot back. Starting with the lunge. Feet are in the same line facing forward, chest is high, and the arms are going to reach straight up towards the ceiling. Fingertips are going to touch, and you're reaching constantly up, up, up as you do this. Avoid craning your neck up, and also avoid looking all the way down. You're standing very firm here, pressing the feet into the ground, lifting your torso as high as possible, actively reaching the hands the entire time. Slowly bring the arms down by your side, open your chest, expand your chest, and turn the hands out away from you with your fingers spread. From this position, hinge your hip forward. So now you're hinging the left hip joint. The chest is big, the hip flexors are long, the lower back is tight, glute is tight, hamstring is tight. Push that weight through the front leg. Slowly bring the arms forward. As the arms go forward, you're not allowed to let that knee come forward at all. Chest up, weight absorbed at the glute, lower back, and hamstring on that left leg. Slowly rotate about 6 inches out to the left. This is going to increase tension at the left glute. Press that left heel into the ground, open up the chest, pull the chin back, really strong torso here, very important. Slowly rotate back to the center. Bring the arms down and open. Big open chest in this position. Unscrew the shoulders. Get out of this position. From there, go ahead and press the heel into the ground. Stand all the way up. Let's go one more round on each leg. So right foot forward, left foot back, nice long stance. Big chest. Reach the arms straight up in the air, and let's go ahead and lengthen your torso as much as possible. Just take the rib cage up off the hip joints here. Really lift, lift, lift. Give me one more very forceful breath. And in this position, when you're breathing, the front and back of the torso are lifting. It's not just a hyperextension. One more breath, bring the arms down. Open up the shoulders, unscrew the shoulders here. You're really actively pulling away from the center of the sternum. From there, you're going to hinge forward, taking that right hip joint back just a little bit, loading the lower back, hamstring, and glute on that right leg, bringing the arms forward. As you bring the arms forward, you should feel increased tension in those muscles. Rotate about 6 inches out to the right. Hold that for just a couple seconds. Load that right glute. Come back to the center. Open up the chest, bring the arms back down by your side. Turn the hands away from your hips. Go ahead and pull your chest back, stand right back up. Let's go left leg forward, right leg back. Chest up, chin back, nice strong posture in this position. Press the feet into the ground. Make sure they're facing straight forward. You're gonna open up the shoulders, lift the arms up as high as you can. We're gonna reach straight up in the air as high as possible. You're not pulling backwards, you're pulling up as high as you can possibly pull up. Let's go one very deep breath here. Try to make yourself shake a little bit as you hold this one for the next couple seconds. Reach, reach, reach as high as you can. As you exhale, bring the arms down, open up the shoulders, separate the sternum a little bit, pull the elbows against the body a little bit here to engage a few more muscles along the back of your body, and then hinge forward into that woodpecker position. This is going to load the low back, glute, hamstring on the left leg. Bring the arms forward to increase that tension. As the arms reach forward, you could even push them forward a little bit further, not letting that front knee come forward at all. All of the weight is loaded into the hip joint. Rotate out to the left only about 6 inches. Don't go any further than that. It's not worth it. Reach the hands forward just a little bit further. That's what's going to increase the tension here. Not further rotating, more distance from the fingertips to the hip. Slowly rotate back to the center. Bring the arms back behind you. Big, big, big deep breath, expanding the chest. Pull the chin back. As you press weight into the front heel, pull your chest back over your hips just a little bit, and then just stand up. Very well done. Let's practice the anchored extension, 8-point plank, and the kneeling founder. To start with the anchored extension, you're going to lay flat on your stomach on the ground. Once you're on the ground, the first thing you're going to do is squeeze your knees together right away. You're also going to press your knees into the ground and take your feet up off the ground. About 3 to 6 inches is plenty. From that position, you're going to pull your elbows back against your body, really tightening up the back of the body here. Squeeze the knees together tight. Keep your chin sort of tight, not hyperextending up like that, and lift the torso as high as you can without the knees coming off the ground. It's a very important part of this, is the knees do not come off the ground as you're doing the exercise. We're going to practice simply a 10-second isometric hold in this position. Squeeze the knees, lift the torso. Slowly, with the same intensity, lower yourself down. As soon as you lower yourself down, we're going right into the 8-point plank. The 8-point plank is very simple. The hands, elbows, knees, and toes stay on the ground the entire exercise. The hips are the only thing that comes up. To get into the 8-point plank properly, you're pressing the hands, the elbows, the knees, and the toes into the ground so hard that you can literally pull the hips up and then stabilize. As soon as you're stabilized, the knees are down, the toes are down, elbows and hands, everything's down, you're just tightening the abdomen, pulling everything into the center of the body for about 5 to 10 seconds. You should have a nice tremble here. If you don't, you're probably not doing it right. Slowly bring yourself back down, very slowly. Once you're back down, we're going to get into a kneeling position. We're going to get right into a kneeling founder. If this hurts your knees, it's really important to put just a couple cushions under your knees or something like that. Usually helps it pretty fast. In a kneeling founder, you're starting in just, knees and hands on the ground. Your chest is up, your chin is back, you're stabilizing your spine. You're going to put your hands to your thighs, lift your chest up a little bit higher. Bring the arms back behind you, and as soon as the arms are behind you, press your hips about 3 inches higher off of your heels. You should immediately get tension at the lower back and the glutes. You're going to hold this tension for about 10 seconds as you slowly just bring the arms straight up. So go ahead and reach the arms up. As the arms come up, just like the other founders, we're pushing away from the hips, actively lengthening the distance between the hips and fingers. Hold that for about 5 more seconds. Bring the arms back down behind you. Let's go one more round of the exact same thing. Anchored extension first. Go ahead and lay flat on your stomach. So again, for the anchored extension, the first thing is the knee squeeze. The second thing is the toes coming up off the ground, with the knees remaining on the ground. Third thing, elbows come back. Perfect. Squeeze the knees tight, lift the chest up off of the ground, keep the knees on the ground while you're lifting. We're going to hold as tight as possible, This time you're going to slowly do a little repetitive movement. Try for 3 slow extensions here. Just watch as Audrey is doing this. Slowly lift the torso, slowly lower it down. Same speed up, same speed down. It's all about control. After you've done about 3 of those, let yourself come all the way down. We're going to go into the 8-point plank. To do an 8-point plank properly, your elbow must be further forward than your shoulder. If it's directly under your shoulder or behind it, it is a completely different exercise. Hands on the ground, elbows on the ground, knees, toes. Press all of those joints into the ground hard enough that you are able to pull your hips straight up. Do not take the knees up with you. The knees remain on the ground. You should have a nice shake. Here, Audrey is just a little bit hyperextended, so I'm going to take her hips down just a little bit and pretend you're pulling a weight off of the ground with your belly button. Just pull really, really tight into the center of your body for 5 more seconds. You should be shaking. 4, 3, 2, just as slowly and with as much control, lower yourself down. We're going to go right into that kneeling position to practice the kneeling founder. If you're having any trouble with the kneeling founder, try to take your heels a little bit wider than your knees, bringing your femur into internal rotation. From this position, the hands go right to the thighs. Big open chest. Give me a big breath into the rib cage as you lift up. As soon as that lower back is supporting your torso, press your hips up off of your heels about 3 more inches. As soon as you have a really tight posterior chain, lower back and glute, I want you to bring those arms forward. As you bring the arms forward, try to take the hips back just 1 more inch. That's all. Really challenge your balance here. Lift the arms up and then away from the hips as high as possible. And I want you to give me a very, very deep breath, constantly elevating your torso as you do that. As soon as you're done with the deep breath, the arms come down. Open up your chest a little bit. Take 1 more breath there. Then relax. Great job. Foundation Series 1 is going to include a hip width founder, a standing lunge decompression, and a wide leg founder. We're going to repeat this series 3 different times, and I want you to pay attention to the details of each of their movement as you're watching this. For a hip width founder, you're going to stand with your feet facing straight forward. Hip width, just about here, somewhere right around here, doesn't have to be exact, but your feet must be forward. Your chest is going to be high, your chin is going to be back, and the first part of the motion is a big, deep breath to elevate your torso. So breathe all the way in. And then as you exhale, pull the hips straight back behind you to load your posterior chain. As the hips pull back, you're looking for tension right at the lower back. Right here, big, strong chest, weight back on the heels and the feet facing straight forward. Give me 3 breaths in this position. Every time you inhale, the sternum is going to lift. You're going to hold that breath for 2 to 3 seconds and then slowly exhale, keeping the torso tall, keeping the weight back on your heels, the chin back, and just learning about your posterior chain. After about 1 or 2 more breaths, you're going to very slowly bring the arms in front of you. And as the arms come forward, the hips are going to pull back just a little bit. Now, as the hips pull back, the knees are not bending any further. Dustin, will you show what that looks like if you do it wrong? When those knees come forward, you're in the wrong position. Make sure the knees remain behind the heels. In about 1 more deep breath, we're going to take the arms all the way up, reaching as high as possible for 10 seconds here. About 3 breaths. Again, every time you breathe, open the rib cage. Every time you exhale, stand as tall as you can, remaining very sturdy. After 1 last breath, you're going to bring the arms back behind you. As you bring the arms back behind you, expand your chest a bit. Nice wide chest. You're going to press through the heels and stand straight up. From this position, you're going to take your right foot forward and your left foot back into a standing lunge. You can either do it a very short distance like Brian, or you can do it a long distance like Dustin. What's most important is that both feet are facing straight ahead, not turned out to the back. Your hips must remain square in this position. Now for a standing decompression, you're just going to lift your arms straight above your head as high as you can, and you'll notice that both of their hands are touching like this. You're not just lifting, you're touching. You're going to breathe up as big as you can, and by breathing up, I very simply mean your torso is going to lift and rise every time you breathe. Every time you exhale, remain tall as you can. Really press your feet firmly into the ground and make your posture as strong as possible in this position. You're going to hold each of these lunge decompressions for 3 full, strong breaths.